The story begins at a suburban dining table where Elena Carter, a 28-year-old paralegal, sits across from her husband Ryan, a polished corporate executive admired by everyone but her. The dinner scene is painted with quiet tension. Ryan's charm fades the moment his mask turns toward Elena, where every word becomes a blade wrapped in silk. He humiliates her with subtle remarks, mocking her abandoned law school dreams in front of his parents, while Elena forces a smile, her hand hidden beneath the table, nails pressing into her palm to anchor herself in silence. Around them, family. Photographs of vacations, anniversaries, and smiling portraits line the walls, each frame a lie projecting an image of perfection that crumbles the moment the dinner plates clink. Later, when the house dims and the facade slips, Elena moves through the hall and hears Ryan's voice in a whisper, low, careful, intimate. She doesn't need to know yet. The words stab through her composure, freezing her in place. Instinct claws at her chest, screaming betrayal, yet fear, confusion, and denial bind her tongue. The seeds of mistrust are planted, and no, she cannot confront him yet. The audience feels the eruption waiting to happen, the boiling emotions sealed behind cold smiles. Elena Carter's life was once defined by ambition and promise. A determined law student with a sharp mind and a vision of independence, but that trajectory was derailed when she chose to pause her career to support Ryan, believing in the dream of partnership and family she had always longed for. Having lost her mother at a young age and growing up with an absent father, Elena carried an emptiness that Ryan's family seemed to fill, especially the approval she mistook from his mother Margaret as genuine affection, even though it was laced with subtle, passive-aggressive jabs that chipped away at her confidence. Ryan himself embodies the double life of appearances, an outwardly successful corporate executive clad in tailored suits, flashing a curated image of wealth and charisma on social media, admired in professional circles, yet behind closed doors. He is cold, manipulative, and emotionally detached, keeping Elena trapped in a marriage where her worth is measured by silence and obedience. The only person who sees through Elena's mask is her best friend Claire, a strong-willed nurse who has been by her side for years, offering the safe space Elena desperately needs to breathe and confess the truth she hides from everyone else. In the present, Elena is suspended in a suffocating paradox. To leave Ryan would mean financial instability and the painful risk of losing the only semblance of family she has ever clung to. Yet staying means continuing to sacrifice her identity, dreams, and self-respect. This conflict anchors her story, placing her at the dangerous crossroads between survival and self-liberation, where every choice threatens to dismantle the fragile illusion of perfection she has been forced to maintain. The fracture comes one ordinary afternoon when Elena, searching for her misplaced scarf in Ryan's car, stumbles across something she was never meant to find: a hotel receipt tucked beneath the passenger seat. Its date recent, its intimacy undeniable. At first her breath stops, her mind racing with denial, until her eyes catch the name scrawled in casual handwriting: Lauren. The name alone would have been enough to wound. But Lauren is not just anyone. She is Elena's former law school classmate, a friend from the days when ambition burned bright, when the two of them dreamed of becoming attorneys side by side. The betrayal is doubled, not only the disintegration of her marriage, but a cruel reminder of the life she sacrificed, now mocked by the success of someone who took everything Elena gave up. Her heart pounds with the urge to confront Ryan immediately, to unleash years of suppressed fury, but that evening at dinner she falters. Ryan's practiced smile, smooth, charming, the same smile that wins over his parents and colleagues, paralyzes her, reminding her of every moment she has swallowed her truth to keep the illusion alive. The silence at the table feels suffocating, her complicity echoing louder than his lies. and she realizes for the first time how long she has been writing herself out of her own story. It is Claire, ever fierce and unyielding, who shakes her. From the fog, looking her square in the eye and declaring, "You can either let him write your story or you pick up the pen." The words strike with the force of a revelation, and Elena feels something shift inside her. No longer content with the role of the silenced wife, she makes a choice not merely to confront Ryan, but to outmaneuver him to reclaim her power. With strategy instead of tears, setting the stage for a battle of wills where the stakes are her freedom, her dignity, and her future, Elena slips into a double life, one that requires her to perfect the art of pretending while secretly transforming her silence into strategy. By day and at dinners, she smiles, plays the part of the polished wife seated beside Ryan's effortless charm, while in stolen moments she becomes an investigator of her own captivity, scanning phone records, memorizing bank statements, saving receipts, and even recording his late-night whispers when his mask slips. Each hidden document is a thread she quietly weaves into a net, her private case building beneath the surface of her marriage. Yet the tension of duplicity gnaws at her nerves. Every time Ryan brushes her hand at a dinner party or kisses her cheek for his parents' approval, Elena feels the sharp edge of betrayal slicing against her composure, forcing her to act out a role she now despises. The poison deepens when Margaret, ever elegant and cutting, leans across the table with a smile and suggests Elena should stop daydreaming about law school and focus on children, her words drenched in condescension. In that moment, Elena sees the trap laid bare. They do not want her educated, independent, or free. They want her bound by dependency, defined by Ryan's shadow. The realization crystallizes into quiet fury, one she channels when Ryan begins his most insidious tactic, gaslighting. He smirks at her suspicion, telling her she's paranoid, imagining things, twisting reality into a cage designed to make her doubt her sanity. But this time, Elena does not flinch. She lets him speak, lets him condescend, and then meets him with a smile, cold, deliberate, no longer the mask of submission, but the mask of calculation. Behind her eyes, he no longer sees the woman he can silence. He sees the quiet storm of someone who has begun planning his undoing. A carefully constructed facade detonates the night Elena takes control, arranging what appears to be a simple family and colleague dinner, a gathering Ryan believes will showcase his charm and dominance once again. But when the plates are set and the wine is poured, Elena calmly takes the remote and turns the television on, her voice steady as she begins to display the evidence she has spent weeks compiling: hotel receipts tucked away in car seats, messages dripping with intimacy, and finally a photo Claire helped her obtain that leaves no room for denial. The room freezes, forks suspended mid-air, Margaret gasping as the flawless image of her son fractures before her eyes, while Ryan's practiced composure unravels, sweat beating along his temple as the walls close in. Elena does not cry, does not scream. Instead, she smiles, a cold, cutting smile that no longer masks pain but radiates power. The kind of smile that tells everyone watching that she is no longer the victim in this story. And just as Ryan attempts to gather his defense, Elena delivers the deeper twist, projecting proof that Ryan secretly drained their joint accounts, siphoning funds into an offshore account that amounts to not only betrayal but illegal tax evasion. Gasps ripple through the room as his colleagues stare in disbelief, the empire of credibility he has built crumbling before their eyes. The tension peaks when Ryan, for the first time, breaks. The man who once dismissed, silenced, and controlled her now begs, his voice cracked with desperation, his rage dissolving into fear as he realizes the very image he worshipped is shattering beyond repair. In this moment, the power has shifted entirely, Elena's icy composure burning hotter than his fury. Her silence no longer submission but judgment. leaving him exposed in front of the very world he tried to impress and marking the irreversible turning point where she claims the pen to her own story. Elena's empowerment begins not with a shout, but with a signature. Her divorce papers filed with the precision of someone who has learned the strength of quiet resolve, every piece of evidence she collected now turned into leverage against Ryan's crumbling empire. The negotiations are not easy, but this time she enters the room not as his shadow, but as his opponent, extracting a settlement that not only severs her ties to him, but also helps fund the life she almost abandoned her re-enrollment in law. School, the dream she once sacrificed, now resurrected with renewed fire. The weight of the past lingers, and in a quiet scene with Claire, Elena finally lets herself confess the truth that haunted her for years. She was never afraid of losing Ryan. She was terrified of being alone, of facing the emptiness left by a childhood without family. Claire, steady and fierce, takes her hand and replies with the truth Elena now understands deep in her bones. Being alone is better than living with a stranger. It is in this acceptance that Elena's identity shifts. The cocktail dresses once worn to play the role of the perfect wife are replaced by stacks of casebooks and late nights in the library. The glittering socialite dinners traded for the steady rhythm of chasing knowledge and purpose. She is no longer performing for anyone, no longer dimming her light to fit the picture Ryan curated. Though scarred by betrayal, she feels alive in a way she has not in years burned, but not destroyed. Her spirit sharpened by fire into something unbreakable. Stepping forward into a future she writes entirely for herself, the story closes in quiet triumph. Elena seated at the modest desk in her small apartment, the glow of a desk lamp spilling over stacks of open law books that now define her nights. Not the suffocating dinners she once endured. Beside her rests a framed photo of her and Claire, a reminder of loyalty, love, and the family she chose rather than the one she clung to out of fear. Her phone buzzes on the desk, Ryan's name flashing across the screen with the message, "We need to talk." But without hesitation, she reaches out and silences it. The act simple yet absolute, a final severing of the hold he once had over her. For the first time, she feels no urge to justify, to answer, to be drawn back into his orbit. Instead, she leans back in her chair, exhaustion softened by a rare peace, and allows herself a small, genuine smile and expression that no longer masks pain, that reflects strength reclaimed. Her voice, or perhaps her inner thought, settles like a closing truth. A smile can hide pain, but it can also hide power. And mine no longer hides anything at all. The moment lingers, not loud or dramatic, but steady, certain, and alive, as the screen fades out on the image of a woman who has finally stepped into her own story, no longer defined by betrayal, but by the quiet, undeniable victory of becoming herself again.